Hello, my Teaserking family. How is everybody today? Happy Sunday. Well. Today we will do college football, the Big 18, or the Big 10 as it's referred to. There's 18 freaking teams in the Big 10 now. Just 1 second. All right. So tonight we got NBA Game 7. We've got OKC minus 7.5, 214.5 to Indiana. We like Indiana and the 7.5. As we said, I think that OKC is okay. Indy when they play, so this should be a very strong game. In Game 5, Halliburton got hurt, and they only won by 11, laying 9.5. But in that game, OKC had to win. This game, it goes to both parties having to win. So it's a different mindset now for both teams. They can't lose. It's a Game 7. There's choke city going on. You can see the total was 230, and Game 1 is now 214 in Game 7. I think it's an over because I think that's way too low just because of the nature of these teams. But I think it's in the 220s at least. But I like Indy is with the points. I'm not saying they're going to win. They could win. It's a good matchup for both teams. OKC, I don't think is that good. They're not all that. I think it's a very weak league right now. Just like everything else, I think baseball is extremely weak. Hey, Real D, how are you today? Happy Sunday. I think it's a very weak league, so it's not like OKC's the Lakers or the Bird Celtics or, the Pistons with Isaiah. This is not that type of league, and this is not that type of team. They have a MVP who I've never heard of. I can't tell you when he was drafted. I can't tell you where he's from. Now, where have you heard that ever in a league where you don't know where the guy – we all know Pron Jr. went to Colorado. We all know Cam Ward went to Washington State and then went to Miami. I don't even know what this guy's name is, and I don't know what college, if any, he went to. So yeah, I don't buy all that crap. It's a very weak league, so I can't sit here and say, oh, OKC's going to kill them based on what. So I like Indy getting the 6.5, 7.5. I think it'll be close. I wouldn't be surprised. Would you be surprised if Indy won? This is Game 7. They've won 3, so it wouldn't surprise me. So I like the dog in this game. All right, Real D, who you feel like have more pressure to win tonight? Okay, well, I think they both have pressure. That's kind of a weird question. Who has pressure? It's Game 7. I think they both, have pressure to win. I don't. What's the point of the question? I mean, basically, they both do. Who has more? Hell, they both have pressure. Doesn't really matter about the pressure. It's Game 7. Who's going to choke? OKC's more likely to choke than Indiana because Indiana, in a pressure game in Game 6, won. They almost won game 5. So I don't really quite understand those type of questions. I know they ask them on these stupid radio shows or whatever, who's got the most pressure. Forget about it. It's just a good game. I think it's an even game. I like the dog. As far as pressure, I don't. It's game 7. I mean, everybody has pressure. All right. Let's look at yesterday's baseball. I think I was really hot. So we opened with the Tigers. I had Tampa Bay. They kill them 8-3. The Yankees under 9.5. They win 9-0. Give them credit for scoring. It was almost a no-hitter for Charlie Schmidt or Clark Schmidt. I don't know how long the no-hitter was there, but he had a no-hitter. Minnesota under 10. That one. St. Louis under 9. St. Louis won, but it went again. I got 11th inning. They score 11 runs. That means it was 9 in the 9th inning, and then went to 10, then went to 11. Jesus, I keep getting screwed on these overtime games. The Cubs, 2 units. They win 10-7. Toronto 7-1 over the White Sox. I have the White Sox over 8. That's a push. I had Boston. They lost to the 49ers 3-2. Damn it. All right, we lose Boston. Texas over 8.5. I don't know why I went over in a Texas pit game, except for the pitching. The Kumar Rocker with the 6.68 ERA held them to 2. Shows you how bad a hitting Pittsburgh has. Atlanta 7, Miami nothing. I've got Atlanta winner. San Diego 5, KC 1. I have KC under 7.5. That's a winner. Mahomes obviously didn't play. They only got 1 run. The Mets 11, Philly 4. I had Philly under 10. Wow, they get 11. Okay, I lose that one. Arizona, they win 5-3. Yeah, over Colorado. Houston over 8. That's a winner. 9-1 is 10 is a winner. Cleveland under 9.5. That's a winner. They win 4-2. And the Dodgers over 9.5, and that's a winner. They got 10, 7-3. So overall, real good day. My bets: Tampa Bay winner, Yankees under 9.5 winner, Cubs winner, Boston losing, and Philly under 10 losing. So I go 3-2. Again, asked how I do in my baseball. Well, we know it's this is why it's a very small bet if you're betting it, but I do okay. I'm looking for streaks. I hear Washington beat the Dodgers. The Dodgers are not all that. Everybody thinks the Dodgers are so good. Oakland didn't score against Cleveland, which has a good bullpen. California's playing pretty good. They beat Houston 9-1. Colorado still sucks. The Phillies still don't have Bryce Harper. San Diego, KC. San Diego wishes they do this week 1. And the Tigers are starting to fall apart. Anytime they play a decent team, they've been losing. And we will see. They'll be lucky to hold on to first by the end of July. They'll probably be second or third place in their division. Too many bullshit things that the guy was doing last year, like starting a reliever. That ain't working anymore. Half his relievers, they're not working anymore. Half his hitting, even though he's stealing the signs again, they still can't hit. So let's see, 622. Baltimore at the Yankees. This is 11:30, so you got 15 minutes. We got Yankees minus 220 and 10. Dean Kremer, 6-7 with the 4.80. Goes against Will Warren, 4-4 with the 4.83. I still got to go under. The Yanks have been under the whole week, under 10. I'll go 2 units again. I played them under the whole week, and they went under every game the whole week. So keep betting red until black hits. I'm going to keep playing this under until they go over. And I don't know. Dean Kremer, 6-7, 4.80. The Yankees are just such a bad hitting team, though. All right, Detroit goes to Tampa, 12-10. Detroit, 110.88.5. Casey Mize, who is not 7-2 with the 296, not in reality. Zach Littell, 6-7. I'm going with Tampa here. This is going to be 3 units. Detroit's terrible. This Casey Mize isn't any good. Zach Littell, the way Tampa's hitting and the way Detroit's hitting, this is clearly a Tampa game. And then over under, probably an over. We will see, but I'll take Tampa. They're so much better than Detroit. Well, Detroit has the best record, yeah, but Tampa's the better team by a mile. So that's why I say you can't look at the record. There's different schedules. Tampa Bay's got to play the Yankees and Boston and Baltimore and Toronto, and Detroit gets the White Sox and Minnesota. Give me a break. They played Colorado, so they're beating up bad teams. So, of course, the record's going to show that, but Tampa doesn't get Colorado and the White Sox as much as Detroit does. Texas at Pitt. Texas 102. What is that? And 9. Jack Leiter, 4-4 with the 440, goes against Bailey Falter, 5-3 with the 349. We got to go under 9. I mean, are you kidding me? It's Pittsburgh. They can't hit under 9. I'm not going to bet it, but we'll go under. The White Sox, Toronto minus 210, 8.5. Adrian Hauser, 2-2 with a 215, not bad. Chris Bassett, 7-3. This is the pitcher's duel. We'll go under. Let's go White Sox. Under 8.5. We'll go 2 units on it. It's amazing how confidence works. You pick a lot of winners, and then a marginal game you bet because you're confident. You're going, well, yeah, I can pick this. And when you're losing, your confidence goes, I don't want to pick anything. I don't want anything here. It is funny how your confidence. I'm pretty good at ignoring that and just picking the game the way the game needs to be picked. I mean, you see my NFL week 1, basically picked a lot of the games already, but we're not waiting. We're waiting until injuries and everything else. I'll wait till about a week before to actually post the games, but like taking Denver over Tennessee, I mean, that's a joke. That's a prudent play. That's how it should be played. Buffalo, Baltimore over, Detroit, Green Bay over, Minnesota, Chicago under. All those plays are just sitting there, and it's like grabbing the low-hanging fruit, they say once in a while. That's all that is. Those are like easy pickings. Now, if they all lose, my confidence, I'll pick them again. What I always tell people, especially who buy my picks, I says, was it a good game? Was it a good bet? Would I bet it again? No. So the Baltimore Buffalo over is a good bet. I would bet it, right? And if it loses, was it a good bet? Yes. Would I bet it again? Absolutely. And so that's the kind of games that you need to bet, is something that even if it loses, was a good play. And that's all you can do is bet good plays and hope they win. You can't control, Lamar fumbling 4 times, right? All right. White Sox. Okay. Atlanta, Miami. Atlanta, 158.5. Bryce Elder, 2-3 with the 445 against Sandri Alcantara, 3-8 with the 688. Atlanta's the better team here in Miami. The Heat won't bother Atlanta. But I'm going to go over. I'm going to go Atlanta over 8.5. Let's see. Yesterday, I had Atlanta over 8.5, and I got that it won. So that's what I thought. Miami can hit, and so can Atlanta. And these pitchers suck. So, like Atlanta over. Milwaukee, Minnesota went under yesterday. That one, I got Minnesota 125, 9.5. Quinn Priester, 5-2 with the 3.46 against David Fiesta, 1-1 with the 4.78. Milwaukee's been winning here. I'm going to go Milwaukee again. Again, following the streak is a very good, because things happen in streaks. Hitters go on a hot streak, go on a cold streak. And that's all you can do. And teams get on a hot and cold streak. So we'll see. Cincinnati, St. Louis. This is one that went to overtime yesterday. I think St. Louis won. Cincinnati 159.5. Andrew Abbott 6-1 with a 184. Who is this guy? Miles McCullough, the old miler, 4-4 with the 4.35. You got to go with Cincinnati with Andrew Abbott, and we'll go 2 units. 6-1 with a 1. I got to look at this guy. I never heard of this guy. I mean, I do this every day. So you know, Miles McCullough. Oh yeah, I heard of him. This guy, he's not a bullpen guy. He's a regular pitcher. He had 4 runs to Colorado, and then 5 runs to Milwaukee, 5 runs to Minnesota. He had a complete game shutout against Cleveland. 9 innings, 0 runs, 3 hits. So not bad. So he's real. And the Miles McCullough, we'll see. All right. Seattle and the Cubbies. Who won yesterday? We had the Cubbies. The Cubbies got the win. All right. That was one of our winners. Seattle minus 125, 11.5. Logan Gilbert 1-2 with a 2.55 against Colin Ray, 4-2 with a 3.84. Why is the total 11.5? Logan Gilbert, is he not real? I know Colin Ray. I check him a lot. He's real. 5 innings, 7 innings. Seems to go 5 innings. This guy. Seattle. I'll have to update my stats today. Seattle 4-4, and the Cubs can hit 11.5. I got to go under 11.5. I'm curious. I can't take the Cubs because this guy's got a 2.55 ERA. And Colin Ray under 11.5. I'm going to go 2 units. I mean, this is crazy. I don't know where they get it from. 2 good pitchers, both under 4 ERAs, and the total is 11.5. Arizona, Colorado. Arizona 210, 12.5. Brandon Pfaadt 8-4, 5.38. Antonio Senzalado 2-10, 6.72. It's in Colorado. Let's go over. Arizona over 12.5. I won't bet it, but I do like. This is 2 terrible pitchers going. Boston against the Niners. We took Boston on the streak. The Niners finally beat them. Streak's over. You get off of that. Now, only if it's prudent do you bet Boston, not just because it's a streak. The Niners 157.5. Luis Giolito 3-1 with the 4.73. Robbie Ray 8-2 with the 2.69. So I like the Niners here with Robbie Ray, but I won't bet it. Cleveland and Oakland. Cleveland 125, 9.5. Slade Sassoni 2-3 with the 4.15. JP Sears 5-6 with the 5.45. 2 shit pitchers, 9.5. We'll go Oakland over. I dropped my Gray Sports Almanac. All right. Houston and the Angels. The Angels killed them yesterday. Houston's 120-9. Ryan Gusto 4-3 with the 4.31 against Kyle Hendricks. 5-6 with the 4.79, and this has got to go over. So we're going California over 9. I'm going to go 2 units. Both pitchers suck, and we are getting hitting. KC San Diego, Mahomes against Herbert again. This time KC's minus 115, 8.5. Seth Lugo, pretty good, 4-5 with the 3.05. Randy Vasquez, 3-4 at the 3.70. We're going to go under. Harbaugh likes to play his defense tight, under 8.5. We'll go 2 units because I do like Seth Lugo. That's why I don't want to bet a team. Seth Lugo can shut you out, and he did against the Tigers. So there you go. See, it's good when you do it against the team that steals signs. Then it really then you can really pitch, right? I wonder if the other team knows they're stealing signs and giving fake signs to offset that. Washington and the Dodgers. The Dodgers 250 and 9.5. Michael Saranko 3-5 with the 506 against Otani. Shoto 0-0 with the 9. He looked pretty bad. He only pitched one inning the first time. I like the over here. Both teams kind of suck. LA over 9.5. I'll go 2 units. I don't know who this Shotani is. He apparently is a good hitter. Is he a good pitcher? I don't know. I don't know why anybody in their right mind would have a guy pitching and hitting. You do one or the other. It's just like this guy from Colorado playing receiver and defensive back. That shows you how weak the team is. They didn't have, both. So, won't work in the pros, fella. And this is really stupid to do this. So, I don't know. He gets a boatload of money because he's playing 2 positions. Only the Dodgers are stupid enough to do that. This guy's nothing. And then the Mets and Phillies. And I love how he's the MVP because he plays 2 positions. Not because he's good, but he plays 2 positions. Mets at Phillies. The Mets 105, 9.5. David Peterson 5-2, 260. Jesus Luzardo 6-3 with the 4.41. Again, Bryce Harper. When does he get back? Maybe he won't come back till after the All-Star break, which should be soon. I don't know. And that's just a guess. 5-2 with the 2. I got to go. What did I do yesterday? Yesterday I had Philly under 10 and it went over. I don't know they're going to hit Peterson all that much. Luzardo is a 4.41. I don't know. I'm going to take the JETSs, but I'm not going to bet it. All right, so let's look at the games. Yankees under 10, 2 units. Tampa Bay, 3 units. Texas under 9. The White Sox under 8.5, 2 units. Atlanta over 8.5. Milwaukee, Cincinnati, 2 units. The Cubbies under 11.5, 2 units. Arizona over 12.5. San Francisco, Oakland over 9.5. California over 9, 2 units. San Diego under 8.5, 2 units. The Dodgers over 9.5, 2 units. And the Mets. The picks, Yankees under 10, and you better hurry up on that one. Tampa Bay, 3 units. The White Sox under 8.5. Cincinnati, 2. The Cubbies under 11.5, 2. Cal over 9, 2. San Diego under 8.5, 2. And the Dodgers over 9.5, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 picks. A little aggressive, but what the hell? It's only Monopoly money, right? All right. Now we're going to go and do the big 18. It is no longer the Big 10. It has to be changed to the Big 18. So I'm going to do, I don't know if I'll do this naked or with, in other words, do I want to just do one show on the Big 10? Come back and do a show on the SEC or include it in this? Not really sure yet. I might do both. I might get more in depth in the just the big 18. So the Big 18: Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon, Michigan, Illinois, Nebraska, USC, Washington, Indiana, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, UCLA, Michigan State, Maryland, Rutgers, Northwestern, and Purdue. A lot of fucking teams, right? So if they're ranking them in order, their order's way off. Indiana's much better than 9. Washington will be much better than 8. Michigan will not be a top 10. Wisconsin, maybe. Michigan State should be improved. Purdue, we don't know. I mean, they had a bad team last year. Doesn't mean they're going to have a bad team this year. Ohio State's not number 2. New quarterback, lost Chip Kelly, their offensive coordinator. The head coach sucks. Their defensive coordinator is Matt Patricia. What does that tell you? So they're in big trouble. Ohio State, maybe the bottom part of the top 10, so like 6 or 7. I think Oregon wins it, depending on their quarterback. Dante Moore, as you shows Dante Moore. I don't know where he's from. I'll have to see where he's from, but the name sounds familiar. I think he's from UCLA, actually, but it's not that good. Terrible coach in Dan Lansing. He can't win a big game. Michigan, I don't know why Michigan's up there. Passing game is fixed with the addition of 5-star Bryce Underwood. That's against high school players. I hate that. You cannot tell me this guy out of high school playing against high school players is going to go into college or the pros and just jump ahead and be the same player. Bullshit. It doesn't work. A case in point, Drew Aller was Mr. Ohio. He's quarterback of Penn State. He sucked since coming. So he was great to be Mr. Ohio and probably the best quarterback, I would assume, in Ohio. But he's not turned out that good. Maybe now in his 8th season at Penn State, he'll be good. Why didn't he go in the draft? Because they knew he'd suck. So Michigan, I think Mikey Keene's got to be better than this Underwood guy, but we'll see. I like Mikey Keene at Fry. I can't believe he didn't get drafted. So let's go through this. The Lindy's, this is Lindy's, not Gray Sports Almanac that I always hope to find. 2020 through 2070, Gray Sports Almanac. Let's start with the first team. Drew Allard, Penn State quarterback. Nick Singleton, Penn State running back. Mikey Hughes, spelled M-A-K-H-I, running back, Oregon. Jeremiah Smith, the young guy from Ohio State, as a receiver. Evan Stewart, Jr. from Oregon. I won't go through all of them, but your second team is Luke Altmaier from Illinois, the quarterback. Keyshawn Allen from Penn State. Now, I don't get this. You're telling me with all these teams that both Penn State guys are the best? Bullshit. Justice Haynes from Michigan. That I doubt. Carnell Tate, Ohio State. I doubt. You got Jeremiah Smith. You're not going to have 2 receivers because they're going to throw the ball to Jeremiah Smith. Elijah Sarrett from Indiana. And then the third string, and this I don't agree with at all, is Julian Sayin from Ohio State. He's apparently a sophomore. I'm not buying this. Jonah Coleman, senior, Washington, okay. CJ Johnson, I don't buy, from Ohio State. Trevon Penier from Penn State, I don't buy. And Denzel Boston from Washington. All right, I'll give you that. But there's no way you can tell me that Ohio State had 2 premier running backs, and here's just this guy's a junior and he's third string on Big Ten. You gotta be kidding me. All right. Too much Penn State bullshit. So you got the quarterback, 2 running backs, and a wide receiver, all from Penn State. Bullshit. You got too many teams to say that, right? Defense, I like looking. The whole secondary of Ohio State's first team, really? Yeah, don't buy that. Penn State's got a few defensive linemen. Oregon's got 2 guys. Second team, another Oregon, another Ohio State D lineman, a couple guys from Michigan, 3 guys from Michigan, and then the third string, another Oregon guy, Penn State guy, and another Penn State guy in Ohio State. So they're just saying, "Oh, you're on Ohio State. You're all Big Ten." It's bullshit. This is the problem that I don't like about this magazine. Their logic's ridiculous because this is Lindy's Big Ten. I don't look at the big games or the recruiting. That's bullshit. Underwood, 6'3", 205, was probably one of these Lamar Jackson types that can't throw the ball. We will see. All right, Penn State. I'm just going to read the overviews here. Penn State has the personnel and the coaching staff. The coaching staff? To win the Big Ten title and to make another deep run in the college football play. Anything less would be a major disappointment. Much depends on the wide receivers. I don't know. You just told me they have 2 all Big Ten running backs, and it's related to the wide receivers and Drew Allen, who sucks. If he was any good, he would have gone in the draft. Ellard passed for 3,300 yards and 24 touchdowns, but struggled in losses to Ohio State and Notre Dame. So, again, he's a choker. Does it remind you of Lamar and Josh Allen? Yes. They added a wide receiver from Troy. Oh, now they're going. They've added the guy from Troy. All right, we'll just look at that. Returning starters I like looking at. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They got 7 back on offense and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 back on defense. But then you got these transfers in. All of a sudden they added a wide receiver from Troy. Well, is he a starter? So a lot of talent back, terrible coaching. The running backs, 1108 and 1100 does not make you very good in 14 games. Don't forget, they played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. They played 16 games, and they only had a 1,100-yard rusher and another 1,100-yard rusher. In 16 games, that's not good. In the NFL, a 1,000-yard rusher was in 12 games. Then it went to 14, and you were pushing it. Now it's 17. A 1,000-yard rusher is nothing. Last year, they lost to Ohio State 20-13. Big Ten championship game, got ripped by Oregon, beats SMU, Boise, and then loses to Notre Dame. All right. The key scoring offense, 33 points a game, and the defense was 16.5. But they give up 45 to Oregon in the Big Ten title game. They give up 27 to Notre Dame without an offense. They gave up 25 to Minnesota. They gave up 30 to SC. And they gave up 27 to a rugged Bowling Green team. So I don't buy the 16.5 defense. So struggling with them. Ohio State overview for a team that lost 14 players into the NFL draft. This team remains loaded. Smith and Downs are 2 of college football's best players. I don't know who that means, Smith and Downs. Smith is the receiver, and Downs is a free safety. Okay. Helps if you tell us what they are, boys. But most of the other stars from last year's are gone. Yeah, because part of the 14. Ohio State roster is still loaded with talent, but the Buckeyes will need a bunch of inexperienced players to live up to their potential. And they got Matt Patricia as their defensive coordinator. How the fuck can you take Matt Patricia as your defensive coordinator at Ohio State? Brian Hartline, offensive coordinator, Matt Patricia, defense. Wow. And then they got a new quarterback, and this Julian Sayin, who is a sophomore. So they didn't rent a quarterback for this year like they did last year. I think Ohio State takes a big drop back. Be careful betting them because they'll still be laying a lot of points. They don't have the team to cover it. Oh, even worse is Salem. From the moment he transferred to Ohio State from Alabama last year. Oh, so even worse, he's an Alabama quarterback. But he completed 5 out of 12 passes in limited action as a freshman. Oh, there you go. I think he's the next superstar. 5 out of 12. He's a gifted passer, can make any throw, but now he has to prove he can do it under pressure, but figuratively and literally. Be careful of these Alabama quarterbacks. Bryce Young, Mac Brown. And if he was any good, he wouldn't have left. Because you brought in DeBoer, who's Michael Penix, right? So wait a minute, you're bringing in DeBoer, and this guy leaves? Not good. Mm-mm. All right, scoring last year, 35 points, gave up 12. That's your overview. You know, we got Smith, great receiver. They open against Texas August 30th. They're laying 3 at home. They're going to struggle in that game. They go to Washington. They're at Illinois. They're at Wisconsin. They're home to Penn State. And they're at Michigan. So it's another loss to Michigan. It's all up to this Michigan quarterback or Mikey Keene, which we know we like Mikey Keene better than the quarterback. They lost to Oregon 32-31 and Michigan 13-10. Should never have been in the playoff. They beat Tennessee, Oregon, Texas, and then Notre Dame. What a joke. To not deserve to be in the playoff, more or less, to win it. Getting all these players drafted, I don't buy it. I think GMs are idiots. They just go, "Oh, he went to Ohio State. Yeah, he was the water boy. Well, we'll draft him anyway. Come on." So they have they have 4 returners on offense and 3 returners on defense. So this is going to be a real inexperienced team. They have the receiver, but they don't have quarterback for him. Sort of backup. Yeah, I don't know. We'll find that out. Anyway, forget the losses in the NFL draft. That's bullshit anyway. Basically, you're stuck with Matt Patricia on defense. So they had a 12 defense last year. They were not going to have a 12 defense this year. I think Texas can beat them the first game, although Archie Manning, I'm not telling, oh, he's the first pick in the draft. Fuck, the guy hasn't played yet. He's first pick in the draft. It looks like he wants to run too much. Not a good thrower. That we'll see. They got Grambling week 2. Mm-hmm. Tough schedule. So at Illinois, at Wisconsin, at Michigan, at home to Penn State and Texas. They got at Washington. Penn State at home, probably their toughest game. Apparently, Texas will be tough. At Washington will be tough. Washington's reloaded with the Arizona coach, and he was a good coach. Oregon, the Ducks are talented but incredibly young and getting the most out of a young quarterback, and largely turned over roster prevents a different challenge. Now 35 and 6 and 3 years under Lanning, who loses all the big games, by the way. This season will tell us a lot about whether Oregon can have a lasting presence. So Oregon's weak. Their quarterback is Dante Moore. Let's see. Sophomore Dante Moore takes over a former five-star recruit. Moore started 5 games as a freshman at UCLA, and he sucks. Not very good. Likes to run a lot. Oregon's in trouble this year. Let's see. 2 returning starters on offense. Three on defense. Very young. They lost Dylan Gabriel. Running back is 5'11". Well, he's junior. I never heard of him. 3 wide receiver and the dog from hell. Shut the fucking dog up. All right. So they scored 35 a game, except for when they needed to, against Ohio State 21. And they give up 19, except for they gave up 41 to Ohio State, 37 to Penn State, 31 to Ohio State, 34 to Boise. And that's about Washington 21. So Oregon will be okay. Again, we have to digest them because the quarterback, the coach sucks. Let's see who's their coaches. I don't know who they are. I don't know if they're new or not. I'll get more into it once I read it. Again, I haven't really read the book yet, but I got the book. So Oregon, we'll see how they are. They will probably score, but I don't really love the quarterback. Their defense, 20 a game. Last year, I would expect it to be worse this year. Michigan, although defense is Michigan's strength, the offense is getting all of the attention. If the Wolverines can piece together even a middling attack, this team can do some damage, especially with its schedule. Remarkably, other than Ohio State, all 8 other Big Ten have losing records. Oh, that sounds like what happened 2 years when they didn't play a good team until the playoffs. This Underwood, supposed to start as a true freshman. That's a huge mistake. Has all the tools necessary and capable of making every throw on the field. Bullshit. Underwood should greatly elevate what was the worst passing attack. Well, they didn't have a quarterback. I don't know. I don't just give the guy, oh, he's the greatest since sliced bread. No fucking way. This is all unknown now, right? This is like whatchamacallit, Cam Ward going to Tennessee. Well, we know he sucks, but you don't have any data on him in the pros. You don't have any data on this guy in college, so you got to be careful. Week 1, they open with New Mexico, and then week 2 they're at Oklahoma, who blows. I hate their coach. Central Michigan, at Nebraska. You get Wisconsin, that's going to be trouble for them. At USC is going to be trouble. Washington's good. I don't know what they're saying here. Other than all 8 other Big Ten opponents had losing conference records, what the fuck's the guy talking about? They got Oklahoma, they got Nebraska, they got Wisconsin, at USC, Washington, Michigan State, Purdue sucks, North Washington sucks, and Maryland sucks. All right, so I got 7 teams. What the fuck's he talking about? A losing conference record. Well, that's because they all played each other, you idiots. So Michigan had 5 losses last year. I'm surprised they didn't go to the playoffs. They beat Ohio State. They scored 22 a game, gave up 20. Great defense? I don't think so. They gave 24 to SC, 24 to Minnesota, 27 to Washington, 21 to Illinois, 38 to Oregon, 20 to Indiana, and that's it. They avoid Indiana this year, which they're lucky. So, New Mexico should be a win, but Oklahoma off of a bad year should be much improved. And I don't know where Chip Kelly is. We'll see. So they got a whole new backfield. I don't like how they give me 1 running back and 3 receivers. So they got 4 returning offense, 3 on the line, and a tight end. And on defense, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they have 6 guys on the defense returning. So this will be interesting. I'm not ranking Michigan number 16. They're not my top 25. Illinois expectations are high in Champaign, given Illinois' ability to retain its stars this offseason among so many returning starters from last season's 10-win team. The Illini have playoff aspirations, but need a few players to step in. Quarterback is there, Luke Altmaier, who's very good. Last year they scored 28, and this year they gave up 21. Look for a little better defense. They got their starting quarterback, running back, and wide receiver back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 returning offense. And defense 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they're pretty loaded, Illinois. Look for them to be much better. They open at Western Illinois, go to Duke. Western Michigan, not much. The Indiana game will be big. The USC, Ohio State, at Washington, Rutgers, Maryland stinks, at Wisconsin, and the Northwestern. So they got a pretty easy road after Washington. Well, no, then they got at Wisconsin. So not too bad. I like the quarterback. He should do well. All right, big Nebraska. When Matt Rule hit his 3-year at Temple and Baylor, his teams played in conference championship. Well, it ain't going to happen this year. Let's not get carried away, but this schedule has 5 Big Ten home games and upward trajectory of the program. It's noticeable. The team should land in a better, warmer bowl, whatever. See, that's why I don't like to get this one, because they don't really give you a lot of information that's meaningful. Let's see. They open with Cincinnati at Kansas City at Arrowhead. They're playing Houston Christian this year. I noticed a few teams like Delaware and a couple others that are actually moved up into the Division I, which is amazing. They got Michigan, Michigan State, USC, UCLA, Penn State, and Iowa. Iowa, we haven't heard anything about yet. Scored 24 game, gave up 20. Look for their defense to get a little better. They got 4 back on offense and 3 back on defense. Why do I mention that? Well, you want to know if they're experienced. It gives you more of knowledge, because, they're all back. This is what they did last year. But if they're not all back, they gave up 19 and a half. You don't know what they're going to do this year. So a lot of questions there. Raiola is okay. He's a sophomore, so he should get a little bit better. They play defense. I look for an under team here again. Big wins last year. Indiana beat them 56-7. Nobody liked Indiana but me. At Ohio State, they lost 21-17. Now, how can they do that? How can they lose to Indiana 56-7 and then lose at Ohio State 21-17? You got a coaching problem. Then they lose to UCLA and at USC, and then they beat Wisconsin and lose at Iowa. What the fuck? Most importantly, though, they did beat Colorado for us in week 2. That was our lock. That was our first lock, 28-10 over Colorado. I don't know. I don't buy Raiola as superstar. Sorry. USC. Is Anthony Davis coming back? The Trojans have finished with a worse year-to-year record each season under Riley, who began his tenure in 2022 with playoff potential, only to lose the Pac-12 championship game to Utah and Cotton Bowl to Tulane. Last season's strong finish and the volume of bad breaks. Fuck the bad breaks. USC 7-6. The Trojans dropped 5 games. Who cares? I'm not getting help from this guy's information. The Trojans should finish closer to the top based on what? See, he just gives opinion. I don't want opinion. I want to know what's going on. They scored 30 a game and gave up 24, so they don't have the good defense. Same defensive coordinator who came from UCLA when they were very good, but they had the twin defensive tackles. USC doesn't. And this year, Jaden Mayava, I really liked from Vegas as the quarterback. He's very good. He's a junior. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys back on offense, which is good because it's such a constructive offense that you need experience in it. And only 2 back on a really shitty defense. They open with Missouri State. That'll really get them ready. And then Georgia Southern and Purdue, Michigan State. Then they go at Illinois. They get Michigan at home. They get Notre Dame, at Nebraska, Iowa, Oregon, UCLA. So it gets interesting. The first 4 games are shit. And then it's Illinois, Michigan, Notre Dame, Nebraska, Iowa, Oregon, and UCLA. It all goes downhill after that. So you'll hear, oh, look, they beat Missouri State. Look how good they are. That might actually be a Division I team now, Missouri State. I have to check that out. They scored 30, gave up 24 a game. So I think they're figuring out Lincoln Riley, right? And I do like the quarterback, Maivia. See, I like the guy who gets replaced. I think Cook, he transfers out, and this is where it's all fucked up. So he starts cooking the ball game. He looks good, but then in the regular season he sucks because in the bowl game he's playing 4 stringers because nobody cares because it's a bowl game. And then he gets Maivia from Vegas, but he doesn't play him. Then he finally starts playing him, and they start winning. They beat Nebraska 28-20, UCLA 19-13, lost to Notre Dame 49-35, and beat A&M. So with Maivia, they're much better. And he's probably related to The Rock because The Rock's name's Maivia. So I think that's what you got. I think you see a lot of points from USC. The question is, how good is their defense? Washington, I am expecting Washington to be a whole shitload better. Their coach came from Arizona, is a very strong coach. I don't know the coordinators. Overview: with more time to build the roster and better depth, Fish's second team should improve, particularly if Williams is as good as he looks. Williams is the quarterback. And his new line meshes. It doesn't hurt that their 3 toughest games, Illinois, Ohio State, and Oregon, will all be played at home after they played 3 college football playoff teams on the road in 2024. The new quarterback, let's see. Demon Williams, who had a breakout performance against Louisville in the Sun Bowl, which means nothing because they probably didn't try. So that's all you get. Williams will be throwing. Okay, so we don't know anything about Williams. He's a sophomore. He's 5'11", 190. He's probably one of these running type of quarterbacks. They've got 4 back on offense and only 1 on defense. So we'll see what they do. They scored 23 a game, gave up 23. They're an E team last year. And they open with Colorado State, and they get UC Davis, then Washington State. I wonder if Cam Ward's back there. Then they get an Ohio State at home, which could be an upset. That Alabama quarterback, forget about him on the road. That'll be a game Washington will be looking ahead to. Maryland, Rutgers. Then they go at Michigan. Against Illinois should be a tough game. At Wisconsin. We don't know what Wisconsin is. And then they close at UCLA and then at home against Oregon. So the Oregon, at Michigan, at Wisconsin, home for Illinois, home for Ohio State will be big. That's the thing with the Big Ten. This is where I'm talking about baseball. You have these, the Tigers have the best record. Yeah, but they're not the best team. That's why you can't look at record, because where did they play the games? When did they play the games? And who did they play? And then you have the Yankees and Boston and Tampa Bay beating each other up. So the record isn't that good, but they're much better than the Tigers. Well, here is the same thing. You got Washington, and you still got Ohio State and Michigan and Illinois and Wisconsin and Oregon. Still, so if they lose 2 or 3 of them, are they a bad team? No, but because they play these teams, they're going to look worse, and that's the whole point of it. You can't look at the record. It's who did they play. Washington, we'll see. So, I don't know this quarterback. To say he had a good game against Louisville and they lost 35-34. 26 to 32 for 372 and 4 touchdowns and another 48 yards and 8 touchdowns. Well, that doesn't tell me anything. You can't look at a bowl game. Half the players don't play. All right, Indiana. Now, I think Indiana's a much better team than they're putting them down in the Big Ten. While Sigigny, the coach, basically had to start from scratch when he arrived at Bloomington, that won't be the case for 2025. Indiana brings back a solid foundation from the team that took the program its first ever double-digit win season. The Hoosiers returned 9 starters, and 3 of those earned first-team All-Big Ten honors. Who cares? That kind of retention in the transfer portal era should help them overcome a more challenging schedule than they had a year ago. They get the quarterback Mendoza from California, where he was okay. They scored 41 a game, gave up only 15. That's why I loved Indiana. We made a ton on them last year. They returned 1, 2, 3, 4 on offense and 1, 2, 3, 4 on defense. And I think the Niners have Curtis Work. He's a pretty good guy, good quarterback. Let's see. So again, we'll have to watch, but 41 a game, I don't think that's going anywhere. Mendoza's a good quarterback. I like Indiana much higher than 31. They're a top 10 team as far as I can see. Good coach. This coach was like, where was he at? But he was always a good, he's 130 and 37, the coach. So he's a good coach. I don't remember if he was from I want to say he was one of those Sun Belt teams that won it every year. I can't remember which, but he's a very good coach. And that's really the key. I mean, if you have it, Iowa. This could be a very interesting year for Iowa. For the first time in quite a while, the offense might go into the year on better footing than the defense. The Big Ten is loaded at the top, but Iowa is in the thick. Quarterback Mark Gronkowski from South Dakota State. Okay, so they're going to South Dakota State for the quarterback. Again, they run a different offense than here. That's what I warned you about Cam Ward. At Washington State, he sucked. Miami ran more of a wide open offense. Now he goes to Tennessee. He's not going to run the same offense. And now he's going to go back to Washington State style. So beware of Cam Ward, please. So Iowa returns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5 on offense, 5 on defense. 27 points a game and 17 defense. So they're an under team. They open with Albany. Well, that'll be a great test. Iowa State, which gives them fits. Iowa State's always a good team. UMass, well, that's a Z team. What a first 3. Albany and Massachusetts. Then they go to Rutgers, and then Indiana's going to come in and kick their ass. At Wisconsin, Penn State, Oregon, SC, and at Nebraska. So, again, a very weak schedule. No Ohio State. They do have Penn State. They're at USC. Okay, so it's hard. It's the Big 18. Overall, they're going to be a good under team. They always have the good defense. Minnesota head coach P.J. Fleck continued to avoid consecutive under 500 seasons a year ago. But like previous years, the schedule is filled with what-if, one-possession games. The margin for success is small at Minnesota, but if Lindsey can be consistent, top receivers emerge. Lindsey is the quarterback, and I'm glad they mentioned that. The Gophers will travel to Cal. The stiffest in league test will be whatever, Oregon, big deal. What kind of analysis was that? All right, I might have to go out and buy Athens anyway because this Lindy sucks. Drake Lindsey, freshman. Where the hell did they get this guy from? He's a redshirt freshman who learned under the insidious and steady Brosmer. I have no idea. So Minnesota's an under team. They're going to be in trouble with the redshirt freshman quarterback. They open at Buffalo, and then they go at Cal, and then at Ohio State, Nebraska, at Iowa, at Oregon, and then home to Wisconsin. A pretty easy schedule, except for Ohio State, basically. They scored 26 a game, give up 16. So we will see. But again, what are you going to learn from Buffalo, Northwestern State, and at Cal? I wouldn't bet on Minnesota, but we'll see. This is probably going to be under because the coach is a good defensive mind. Wisconsin, who's their quarterback? Billy Edwards Jr. We'll start a transfer quarterback. Maryland transfer dual threat Billy Edwards. Well, he sucked at Maryland, so I don't know what the guys benched at Maryland. Let's bring him in here. Again, Wisconsin, very weak quarterback, although they did have my guy Tyler Van Dyke last year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 back on defense, 4 back on offense. 22 points scored and gave up 23 last year. They opened at Miami of Ohio, or at home against Miami, then Middle Tennessee. At Alabama, they played them last year, so it's a home and home with Alabama. Good luck. Alabama's going to kill them. Maryland, at Michigan. We'll see how Michigan looks. Iowa, Ohio State, Oregon, Washington, Illinois. Yeah, Wisconsin might only win 3 or 4 games. Boy, do they have a – Fickle is trying to find his footing after going just 12 and 13 his first 2 seasons. Last year's 5-win team ended a 22-year streak of making a bowl game. To get a new streak going, the Badgers will rely on offense finding consistency and balance while getting back to tough mindset. Yeah, they're in big trouble. UCLA quarterback Nico Iamaya. Can you believe? Can we not watch Tennessee and say this quarterback should be playing volleyball? He sucks. He goes to UCLA. You're in fucking UCLA, and this the best quarterback you get is a terrible guy from Tennessee. UCLA scored 18 a game, gave up 25, and I don't see it getting any. I don't think they can go get 18 with this guy. 3 guys back on offense, 1 on defense. The coach is Deshaun Foster, not a very good coach, not experienced. I don't know. UCLA's in big trouble. They don't have the coach. They don't have the quarterback. You're fucked. Oh, okay. This could be our first lock. They open at home against Utah, and you know how much we love Utah. They're in big trouble. They go to Vegas. That's another loss. Penn State at home. Maryland at Indiana's a loss. At Ohio State's a loss. Washington and at USC. They're in big trouble, UCLA. They won't go 500. At the very least, Foster finally had a benefit of a full off season. He wasn't hired until February 2024. Despite overhauling the majority of his coach's staff after year 1, there will be increased expectations after coming a win shy of bowl eligibility. acquiring the player widely considered the top player in the transfer portal and upgrading the team depth. Who was the top player in the transfer portal? I don't know, but if this guy was the best player in the transfer portal, you got to be kidding. All right. Michigan State, the Oregon State coach, Jonathan Smith, the Oregon State quarterback, Aiden Childs, he's now a junior. Overview, the schedule and talent make reaching the program's first bowl game since 2011 a realistic goal. MSU fell one game short of that last year. To do much more than MSU will need development at several positions, so they need coaching help. They scored 19 a game last year, tied for 123rd, and they gave up 26. So this is a W team. This is not a very good team. Very weak. I don't mind the coach, Jonathan Smith. He was okay at Oregon State. They open at Western Michigan. They go a couple weeks at USC, at Nebraska. You got UCLA at home, at Indiana, at Michigan, Penn State, at Iowa. Yeah, good luck to them. So, again, we're not sure how good Michigan is. We know Indiana, Penn State, Iowa will be Iowa. All right, Maryland. Quarterback Malik Washington, the most high-profile member of Maryland's recruiting class, is an in-state quarterback, passed on the spring of his senior year at a high school to enroll early. One of these guys I want to get out of high school already. So he's a freshman, 6'4", 215. Malik Washington, the freshman, will compete with UCLA transfer and redshirt freshman. Okay. Who knows? Could be a star, could be a bust, probably a bust. 6'4", 215. They've got 3 returning starters on offense and 1 on defense. So I look for Maryland to be terrible. Scored 23 game, gave up 30. This is another W team, probably an over team, giving up 30 a game. They open with Florida Atlantic. They go to Wisconsin, Washington, Nebraska, Indiana at home, at Illinois, Michigan, and Michigan State. This is a pretty lousy team. This will be probably a over bet in a lot. Like Florida Atlantic, this could be an over bet. Towson, they're playing Towson. Jesus. All right. Northern Illinois will probably beat them week 2 like they beat Notre Dame. Rutgers. Minnesota quarterback Kalakamanis is their quarterback. He's a senior. They scored 28 a game, gave up 25 last year, which is a little high for Coach Schiano. Overview, there was more talent in the program than at any point during Schiano's return, and the Scarlet Knights are coming off winning 4 Big Ten games for the first time since joining the league. Really? But breaking the 7-win mark in 2025 would be monumental given the schedule after missing all 3 in 2024. The Scarlet Knights get Oregon, Ohio State, and Penn State. So what they're referring to, they didn't play them last year. So they open with Ohio, Norfolk State, then they got Iowa, and then they go at Washington, home against Oregon, at Illinois, at Ohio State, and Penn State. So they're in big trouble at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys back on offense and 2 on defense. So again, they scored 28 and gave up 25. Look for that 25 to come down. It's just Schiano usually plays really strong defensive football. All right. Northwestern, and then I think Purdue's the last. All right, two more teams in the Big 18. Overview, Northwestern was a disappointment last season, putting one of the worst offenses in the FBS. The Wildcats' 2 Big Ten wins came against teams that won a combined 1-17 in conference play, but the program addressed a lot of that needs through the portal, most importantly a quarterback. If the offensive line gels, if, we don't care. Who did they get in the portal? Preston Stone from SMU, I believe. Stone is a proven veteran and went 13-3 as a starter in 4 years at SMU. What the fuck is he doing at Northwestern? How much? They must have paid a lot for. Money talks, right? So they scored 17 a game and gave up 26. This is a Z team. They open at Tulane. That's probably a loss. They got Oregon, at Penn State, at Nebraska, at USC, Michigan, and at Illinois. So they're in pretty. Illinois is their rival. They're both in Illinois. Northwestern's near Chicago, and Illinois is in Champaign, Urbana, whatever. I don't see them beating Tulane. Okay, Stone's a good quarterback. What the hell is he doing here? How is he going to get drafted playing at Northwestern? I don't know. All right. Who did they beat? They beat, Maryland and Purdue. Well, Purdue, anybody could beat Purdue. Maryland, that was surprising. Eastern Illinois, Division II, and Miami of Ohio. Okay. And our last, but not least, Purdue. Odom isn't afraid of the Purdue job. So Barry Odom at Purdue last year, or first year, overall 44-33. Where does he come? New coach. Let's see. Where's he from? It doesn't tell us. Odom isn't afraid of the Purdue job. He was the first, UNLV. He was the first UNLV coach with back-to-back winning seasons in 44 years. Okay, so now we got to watch out for UNLV. They don't have their coach. That's a huge thing because they were really good the last 2 years. Purdue sucked, but they get rid of their coach and bring in a guy who can actually coach. Look for Purdue to be better, but not this year. But they should show improvement. Not like Signotti did at Indiana, where you had a vast improvement. But they'll be better defense. They scored 15 a game, gave up 40. Well, look for that to come down. And Purdue was a bowl team just 3 years ago, but the rebuild here is massive, and his skills will be tested, finding a way to build a cohesive program that enters the season with an 11-game losing streak. How Maccabee does behind a new offensive line will be a huge factor. Maccabee is a running back. Ryan Brown is the quarterback. Let's see. He started 2 games for Purdue last year. He announced his intention to transfer to North Carolina, then announced in April he was coming back, probably because of the coach. Okay, so he's not very good. He was there last year. They open with Ball State. They got USC, Notre Dame, Illinois, at Michigan, Ohio State, at Washington, and Indiana. So they're in for it. Now, they lost to Notre Dame last year, 66-7. I would imagine this is a big revenge game, but it's at Notre Dame. That'll be Purdue's best game of the year, is the revenge game to Notre Dame. Notre Dame they've lost their quarterback too, Riley Leonard. All right, so that is your Big 10, the Big 18. And I don't know how much in depth to get with you guys or not, but I know everybody likes that analysis. You've got your new players. That's your key. Even Mikey Keene at Michigan, he's new. He's got a gel. He should be the quarterback the first game against Texas. You want Mikey Keene as your quarterback. You don't want Julius Underwear, because he's gonna make a lot of mistakes. He's going to be in way over his head. If you think he's just going to go out there and put up 40 points and go 20-21, 4 touchdowns, you're out of your freaking mind. Mikey Keene should be the starter because you're opening against – are they opening against Texas or Oklahoma? Michigan opens New Mexico and then goes to Oklahoma. Okay, so he can start against New Mexico, but at Oklahoma, you want Mikey Keene starting that game, and at Nebraska and at USC. Outside of that, it's pretty easy. Well, Washington at home and Ohio State. So Michigan has a pretty easy schedule. But I would be Underwood against New Mexico and against Central, but Mikey Keene's got to play against Oklahoma, Nebraska, Wisconsin, USC, Washington. You can't go in with the freshman whose only time is playing high school ball. Right? This is Oklahoma, off of a bad year. They are pissed. They're not. You're not going to go in there. We saw what happened with Alabama last year. They went in there and lost. Oklahoma should be pretty pissed off. They had a real bad year. I'm sure the coaches got to be a job on the line. So be careful with that. All right. I showed you this thing yesterday on the Nazi selling their gold to Switzerland for Swiss francs to buy tungsten from Portugal because they needed it for the planes and their tanks. And that's what free trade's about. And, it's sort of like, let's look at free trade as like baseball collecting. I want to get a Mickey Mantle card and I'm looking for it. And then you finally find it and it's in Germany. Well, of course, you're going to trade USD or gold for the Mantle card. That's the whole point. You don't have everything. The U.S. doesn't have everything. Germany needed iron ore. Different countries, Japan and China, needs oil. So there's certain countries have certain inventory. And that's what I showed you yesterday was the inventory needed by Germany, right? I was watching the movie Narvik this morning, and they needed the iron ore from Sweden. Sweden selling it to, they're selling it to Germany they needed iron to make tanks and guns and bullets and whatever else you make with iron. But they were shipping it through Norway. I think it was Norway. And the Dutch, whoever the Dutch is, right? But it was down, there's Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. So it was Norway. And then the Germans were attacking them. And then the British were, they got in the middle. And, but again, Hitler needed iron ore to make his good. So he goes to war, but he doesn't have anything and he's got to get it, but he couldn't buy anything because no money. So he had to start war to get the gold. So he could take the gold and buy the tungsten from Portugal, buy the iron ore from Sweden. They'll take gold, but they wouldn't take Nazi gold. So they had to take Swiss francs. And that's the key to it. So you have to trade, right? And that's what free trade's about. You don't want to piss the person off. The U.S. is pissing everybody off now, saying if you buy oil from Iran and China does, we're going to sanction you or do whatever the hell they think they can do. And China's sitting there going, we got gold. We don't really care about what you say you can do. You can't use our system. China's already 5 steps ahead of that going, we are going to use the gold-backed currency. We already have our system going. So I don't understand what Trump is doing with China. They already have the system set up. China's going, Russia and all the BRICS are off the dollar and they got their payment systems already going. So I don't know what he's thinking. Well, if you trade with Iran, because he's worried that they'll make money selling the oil for the war. And why are you at war against these people? Why are you at war at all? Why are you fucking around with the Russians and the Ukrainians and Israel and Iran? Why are you at war? What could there be that you need to be at war for them? Oh, the fact we're going broke. So that was an interesting movie that what they were trying to do. Um, so again, for the Nazis. Just a second. All right. So I showed you this thing about me yesterday. So I'm going to show it to you again today. It's only a minute long. 6 habits of people with high IQ, and it's really me. And then we'll go to there's a thing on Bush being involved with the Nazis too now. So let's do this quick one, and then we'll go.
Hey, ever wonder what makes some people super sharp? These 6 weird habits actually signal
They're
high
not weird
intelligence.
habits.
And number 4 might surprise you. 1. They talk to themselves. Sounds crazy? It's actually genius. Talking out loud boosts focus and helps your brain solve problems faster. 2. They've got a sharp sense of humor. Witty people process info quicker and use humor as a tool for creativity and resilience. 3. They crave alone time. Solitude isn't loneliness. It's how high performers recharge and think deeply. 4. They're obsessed with learning. Open-minded folks question everything. That's what sparks innovation and smarter decisions. 5. They're super observant. Being hyper-observant helps them spot patterns, solve issues, and stay 10 steps ahead. 6. They focus on solutions, not problems. Instead of whining, they take action, and that's what really sets them apart. If you want more tips and tricks, hit that like button and subscribe.
Okay, so that's basically me. Here's one on I was watching
Teenagers
today.
are out here launching AI businesses from their bedrooms, and you're still using.
Follow the money, they say.
Okay, so this is about the Bush family being in bed with the Nazis, and that's how they became. Both of them were presidents. Both are very corrupt. The whole family's corrupt, but so's everybody in politics. But they made their money from dealing with the Nazis in the 20s and 30s. And for some reason, they just everything was fine. So it's a real strange one. But so we've got the Swiss helping the Nazis yesterday. We've got Bush helping the Nazis today, and the whole thing. And they're all just a bunch of criminals. And it's just the more we know, the worse it gets, right? So basically, everybody in politics is a criminal. They're all thieves. They're all stole money to get ahead, and then they use that power to do things, to get off, to not go to jail. It's just really sickening. Uh, so let's play a little of this. Just again, keeping it financial, because where does Hitler get all his money? In 1923, they were broke, right? The money collapsed. Then they came out with the Deutschmark, but that wasn't backed by anything. So that didn't last long. How does Hitler get all his money? How does he go to war? How does he build tanks and pay for it? Well, we know first he stole gold from Austria, took the gold, got tungsten and iron ore to start making planes and trains and automobiles and weapons. And a lot of it comes from Mercedes, and then from Bush here, and Switzerland was able to switch out the gold and give them. Now, again, they traded the gold, right? So they had gold, but they couldn't use it because they knew it was crooked gold, and people didn't want it because it probably had a swastika on it. So nobody wanted that gold. They knew it would be worthless to them. So they traded to Switzerland, who changes it into Julius Caesar gold, and then they get the Swiss francs for them. Switzerland didn't care because it was gold. They could just melt it and redo it. And this is what Switzerland did. Bush is just, these guys are just criminals. I mean, the whole thing. All right, so let's take a look.
And you'll find the truth. But when it comes to the Bush family fortune, following the money leads down rabbit holes that most historians prefer to avoid, and most journalists are too frightened to explore fully. Of course, when you hear the name Bush, you likely picture presidential libraries, controversial wars in the Middle East, Texas ranches, and that awkward moment when George W. dodged a shoe in Baghdad. A classic American success story.
I didn't see that
depending
one.
on who you ask. And what a story it seems. 2 presidents, governors, senators.
Wait a minute. So look at the security. The guy can take his shoe off and throw it at Bush, and there's no CIA or FBI around. It's the same with Trump when he got shot at. They let him shoot 5 or 6 bullets before somebody, and I don't think they ever got him. Just amazing, the security situation. They need Liam Neeson, of course, from taken.
CIA directors. The Bush legacy gleams with electoral gold, reading like a political monopoly game where one family owns all the properties. Yet beneath this red, white, and blue triumph lies a foundation built on something far darker. Transactions so controversial that their exposure once threatened to topple everything. We're talking about seized bank accounts, federal investigations, and connections to the darkest chapter in human history. Consequently, in today's episode of Old Money Luxury, we uncover the buried history of America's most untouchable political dynasty. A story of how forbidden money became the foundation for unimaginable power. In the halls of American power, where political dynasties come and go like seasons, the Bush family stands as an enduring monument to wealth, influence, and, remarkably, survival through scandal. Indeed, with a combined fortune hovering around $400 to $500 million, this Connecticut to Texas clan has transformed from New England aristocrats into a political machine that produced 2 presidents, multiple governors, and enough corporate board members to fill a country club dining room. And they've done it all while carrying a dark secret from the 1940s that would have destroyed most families, but somehow only made the Bushes stronger. Today, George W. Bush, the 43rd president who led America through September 11th and into Iraq, sits comfortably on a personal fortune of $40 million. That's double what he had when he entered the White House in 2001. Not bad for a man who was once dismissed as a failed oilman and baseball team owner. His post-presidency has been surprisingly lucrative.
I didn't know what eggs do to cortisol until I saw this.
One of the biggest mistakes for women who want to lose weight is eating
His post-presidency has been surprisingly lucrative. Between 2009 and 2015 alone, Bush gave over 200 speeches at 6-figure fees. His memoir, Decision Points, became an instant bestseller. And in perhaps the most unexpected twist, his amateur paintings of world leaders and military veterans have earned him respect in art circles and hefty price tags from collectors. The late George H.W. Bush, patriarch and 41st president, left behind $25 million when he passed in 2018. But that number barely scratches the surface of the family's true wealth, which flows through private investments, real estate holdings, and what financial insiders call legacy positions, board seats and advisory roles that come with being a Bush. Then there's Jeb Bush, the former Florida governor who many thought would be the third Bush president. His $40 million fortune comes from private equity deals, real estate ventures, and speaking fees that rapidly hit $75,000 per appearance. After his failed 2016 presidential bid, where Donald Trump mockingly called him low energy, Jeb quietly returned to the business world, adding millions more to his portfolio. The family's most prized possession sits on a rocky promontory jutting into the Atlantic Ocean in Kennebunkport, Maine. Walker's Point Estate, purchased by Bush's great-grandfather and his son in 1902 for an undisclosed sum, now contains a 9-bedroom main house, guest quarters, a pool, tennis court, and boat dock, all protected by Secret Service when a Bush is in residence. The property survived a 1991 storm with 30-foot waves that demolished the guest house and swept family heirlooms out to sea. Today, locals reverently call it the Bush Compound, and tourists can glimpse it from a tiny parking area across the water, though most don't know the estate harbors a century-old connection to the very financial institutions that would later be seized by the US government. For in 1942, federal agents walked into the offices of Union Banking Corporation on Wall Street and took control of its assets under the Trading with the Enemy Act. Before the Bush name became synonymous with American presidencies and Texas oil, it belonged to a line of shrewd Connecticut bankers who understood that real power lived not in politics, but in the quiet corridors of Wall Street. The dynasty's true architect was Prescott Sheldon Bush, born May 15, 1895, in Columbus, Ohio, a man whose Yale pedigree and Skull and Bones membership would set the template for generations of Bush men to follow. Standing 6 feet 4 inches tall, with an aristocratic bearing that commanded boardrooms, Prescott married Dorothy Walker in 1921, joining his destiny to one of Missouri's wealthiest banking families. His new father-in-law, George Herbert Walker, wasn't just any banker. He was president of W.A. Harriman and Company and would later give his name to a future president. By 1931, Prescott had become a managing partner at Brown Brothers Harriman, the most powerful private banking house in America. From their offices at 59 Wall Street, Prescott and his partners controlled a web of investments that stretched from American railroads to German steel. It was through this network that Prescott became one of 7 directors of a modest-looking bank called Union Banking Corporation. On paper, UBC appeared to be just another investment vehicle serving European clients. In reality, it was the American banking arm for Fritz Thyssen, the German steel magnate who had bankrolled Adolf Hitler since 1923. Thyssen himself would later write a book with the chilling title, I Paid Hitler, detailing how he funded the Nazi Party's rise to power. Through UBC, millions of dollars flowed between Germany and America, even as Hitler's regime began its march toward war. Prescott's other business interests were equally entangled with Nazi Germany. The Silesian American Corporation controlled valuable coal and zinc mines in Poland that would later use slave labor from concentration camps. July 1942 brought a devastating headline in the New York Herald Tribune that made Prescott Bush's blood run cold. Hitler's angel has $3 million in US bank. The article revealed that Union Banking Corporation was holding Nazi money, possibly to be held for Nazi bigwigs. Prescott and his partners scrambled to explain their position as merely an unpaid courtesy for a client. But their explanations fell on deaf ears at the Treasury Department, where officials were building a case under the Trading with the Enemy Act. On October 20th, 1942, while American soldiers were preparing to fight Nazis in North Africa, federal agents walked into Union Banking Corporation and seized all assets. They found what government investigators called a US holding company with German and Polish subsidiaries that was actively managing Nazi interests. The seizure order specifically named Prescott Bush as one of the directors whose shares were confiscated as being held for enemy nationals. In the dusty government files, one document stood out. A report confirming that Prescott's bank was closely affiliated with United Steel Works, which produced half the steel for the Nazi war machine. Yet somehow, this scandal that should have destroyed the Bush family would instead become the foundation of their incredible rise to power. The government seizure that should have destroyed Prescott Bush instead became the foundation of a political dynasty that would reshape American history. After the war ended, federal authorities quietly returned the confiscated assets to their American shareholders, including Prescott Bush, along with a settlement of $1,500,000. This Nazi-tainted money, never publicly acknowledged by the family, would fund the Bush dynasty's rise from Wall Street to the White House. Prescott emerged from the scandal not as a pariah, but as a respected Connecticut businessman, his Skull and Bones connections and Brown Brothers Harriman partnership intact.
If you're a Black woman like me living with type 2, listen up. This condition hits us harder than it does folk.
Connecticut businessman, his Skull and Bones connections and Brown Brothers Harriman partnership intact. By 1947, he'd reinvented himself as Connecticut's Republican finance chairman, raising money for the party while carefully cultivating his image as a moderate progressive. His first Senate run in 1950 ended in heartbreak, losing to Democrat William Benton by just 1,102 votes out of 850,000 cast. But Prescott had learned a crucial lesson. In Connecticut politics, being too closely tied to controversial causes could sink a campaign. When Senator Brian McMahon died suddenly in 1952, Prescott seized his chance, defeating future Connecticut Governor Abraham Ribicoff to claim the seat. Standing 6 feet 4 inches tall with silver hair and patrician bearing, one Senate staffer remarked that Prescott looked more like a senator than any senator I've ever met. In Washington, Prescott became President Dwight Eisenhower's loyal ally and occasional golfing partner, supporting the interstate highway system and voting for the Civil Rights Acts of 1957 and 1960. He served on the powerful Banking and Currency Committee, the same institution that had once investigated his Nazi banking connections, with no one daring to mention his past. Meanwhile, Prescott was grooming his sons for greatness, particularly his second boy, George Herbert Walker Bush, born in Milton, Massachusetts, on June 12, 1924. Young George had absorbed the family lessons: Yale, Skull and Bones, military service, then make your fortune before entering politics. In 1948, rejecting his father's Wall Street path, George H.W. Bush packed his red Studebaker and drove to Odessa, Texas, to enter the oil business. Using family connections and Eastern money, including funds traced back to the Union banking settlement, George built Zapata Petroleum into $1 million enterprise. By 1962, when Prescott retired from the Senate, he had successfully transformed the Bush name from Nazi-connected bankers to respected public servants. His parting gift to his son was a Rolodex of connections stretching from Texas oil fields to CIA headquarters, from corporate boardrooms to the highest levels of the Republican Party. The family even had a new origin story, not Wall Street financiers with uncomfortable German connections, but Texas oilmen and New England patriots. Prescott Bush died on October 8, 1972, living just long enough to see his son George become ambassador to the United Nations. But even Prescott couldn't have imagined how far his Nazi-funded fortune would carry the family name into the highest echelons of American power. The phone call came at 1:45 in the afternoon on November 22, 1963, just 75 minutes after President Kennedy's motorcade was torn apart by gunfire in Dallas. George H.W. Bush, then a 39-year-old oil executive and Republican Party chairman, placed an urgent call to the FBI from Tyler, Texas, reporting a suspicious character who might be involved in the assassination. The call seemed oddly specific for a random tip. Bush named James Parrott, a harmless local Republican volunteer, as a potential threat to the president who was already dead. Years later, researchers would wonder why Bush felt compelled to establish his whereabouts with federal authorities on the day that changed America forever. Even more puzzling was Bush's claim that he couldn't remember where he was when Kennedy died, making him perhaps the only American of his generation with such convenient amnesia. Then, in 1985, journalist Joseph McBride uncovered a bombshell while researching in the National Archives, an FBI memo from J. Edgar Hoover himself, dated November 29, 1963. The memo stated that Mr. George Bush of the Central Intelligence Agency had been briefed about the reaction of anti-Castro Cuban exiles in Miami to Kennedy's assassination. When confronted with this document, Bush claimed it must refer to another George Bush, and the CIA produced a low-level researcher named George William Bush who denied any knowledge of such a briefing. But the evidence of Bush's intelligence connections stretched back even further. His business partner at Zapata Oil, Thomas Devine, was a CIA staff employee, a relationship documented as early as 1953. By January 1976, when President Gerald Ford nominated Bush to become Director of Central Intelligence, the CIA was drowning in scandal. The Church Committee had exposed assassination plots, illegal domestic spying, and covert operations that shocked even hardened Washington insiders. Senator Frank Church immediately opposed Bush's nomination, calling him a partisan political operative who would politicize the agency at its most vulnerable moment. Bush was, in fact, the first openly political figure ever nominated to run the CIA. Previous directors had been military men, Wall Street lawyers, or career intelligence officers. The confirmation hearings in December 1975 should have been brutal, with Democrats controlling 60 Senate seats and many still furious about Bush's role defending Nixon during Watergate. Then, on December 23rd, just as Bush's nomination hung by a thread, CIA Station Chief Richard Welch was assassinated in Athens, Greece. The White House and CIA immediately blamed congressional investigations for Welch's death, though there was zero evidence linking the Church Committee's work to his murder. Ford waived regulations to bury Welch at Arlington Cemetery, and his body was flown home to arrive during the Today Show, maximizing public impact. Suddenly, opposing Bush meant opposing the CIA itself, and enough Democrats buckled to confirm him on January 30th, 1976. In just 1 year as director, Bush would forge relationships and gather secrets that would serve him for the next 4 decades of his political rise. On Christmas Eve, 1992, just weeks before leaving the White House in defeat, George H.W. Bush committed the final act of a conspiracy that began in 1986. With the stroke of his presidential pen, Bush pardoned 6 men convicted in the Iran-Contra scandal, including former Defense Secretary Caspar Weinberger, whose trial was set to begin in 12 days. Weinberger's private notebooks contained damning evidence of Bush's deep involvement in illegally selling weapons to Iran and funneling the profits to Nicaragua.
The number one food for regular BMs, huh? Okay, let's see.
Fastest way to clear out stuck poop?
In illegally selling weapons to Iran and funneling the profits to Nicaraguan death squads. Independent counsel Lawrence Walsh exploded with rage, declaring that the Iran-Contra cover-up, which has continued for more than 6 years, has now been completed. Bush justified the pardons by claiming the men were motivated by patriotism, but the real motive was self-preservation. As president, Bush himself would have been called to testify under oath about his role. This was the same George H.W. Bush who had claimed to be out of the loop on Iran-Contra. Even as his own diary revealed, he knew everything from the beginning. His attorney general who advised him on these pardons was William Barr, the same man who would later serve Donald Trump in the same role. Despite losing to Bill Clinton in 1992, the Bush dynasty was far from finished. 8 years later, Prescott's grandson, George Walker Bush, stood on the precipice of the presidency, locked in the tightest election in American history against Vice President Al Gore. On election night, November 7th, 2000, the networks called Florida for Gore, then for Bush, then declared it too close to call. When the dust settled, Bush led by just 537 votes out of nearly 6 million cast in Florida. a margin that triggered automatic recounts and lawsuits. For 36 days, America watched as hanging chads and dimpled ballots became household words, while armies of lawyers descended on the Sunshine State. The battle reached the Supreme Court, where 5 conservative justices, including 2 appointed by Bush's father, voted to stop the Florida recount on December 12th. In Bush versus Gore, the court's 5-4 decision effectively handed the presidency to George W. Bush, making him the first president since 1888 to lose the popular vote, but win the office. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, who provided the crucial framework for stopping the recount, would later express regret about the decision that many saw as nakedly partisan. With George W. Bush's inauguration on January 20th, 2001, the transformation was complete. From Prescott Bush's Nazi banking connections to 2 Bush presidencies spanning 12 years. The money...
It's just, this is the problem. They go and help Hitler and the Nazis, and nothing happens to him. He goes, he's involved with Kennedy's assassination. He's Iran-Contra, selling arms to both sides. He's probably selling to Iran and Russia and Ukraine and Iran and Israel. And these guys, they control everything. And this is the problem. It's all corrupt. It's very, you don't realize what's going on. So you get this corruption and nobody hears about it. How did he get through selling arms to? We're fighting Hitler and he's selling them arms. He's selling them steel. What are you kidding me? It just shakes, it just shakes your head at it, going, as Bobby would say, shake my head. It's insanity. We saw that with Switzerland yesterday, where they sold they bought the gold for the Swiss francs so they could buy other things. If they don't do that, the war never begins, because even if the Nazis were stealing the gold as they were, they wouldn't be able to sell it. So that would have ended the war, because they didn't have the money to buy things. If you're broke, you can't go buy planes, trains, and automobiles and guns and everything Hitler was doing if you don't have money. But by stealing the gold and being able to fence the gold, where they can't, like Ocean's 11, where he says, well, there was matrimonial headdresses, but he couldn't move it. And so Brad Pitt goes, well, if you would have just stole money, it wouldn't have mattered. You don't have to fence it. Well, it's the same thing with the Nazis stealing the gold, but they couldn't move it. But thanks to Switzerland, they were able to move the gold for the Swiss francs to buy steel and iron ore and things from Sweden. And, it was crazy. And that's how but this is what's going on. What do you think's going on with Russia and Ukraine? What do you think's going on in the Middle East? It's these guys that make the rules up and are untouchable against the law. How did Bush win? If Gore won, and I'm sure Gore probably won, but yet they go and they say, well, it's called, we'll give it to Bush. Well, just because he had the connections, because of his father, because of Hitler, because of the family from the 1930s. And that gave him the connections and a lot of dirty pool, and he wins the presidency. I don't know what he did with it. He created 9/11. He was in on 9/11. That was his thing, or the family was in on it, which was about stealing gold. The Israelis were in on it. That's what was under 9/11 was gold. So they stole gold. It's just insanity. It really is. We're trying to be honest and, forthright, and here are these guys just stealing and, helping the enemy. I mean, what is that? Oh yeah, Hitler's a nice guy. Let's give it. What are you, insane? That's just a joke. I mean, why are they dealing with Hitler? Well, so we can make profit. Well, that's not how you make profit. You don't make profit helping murderers out. Um, I just find that they should get they're above the law. They create their own laws. You got Jamie Dimon and J.P. Morgan doing it now with gold and silver. They control the price. So don't be so naive and think what you think. You think Bitcoin's real. Yeah, okay. You think the stock market is really 42,000. Yeah, keep that in mind. China and BRICS have had enough of it, and they're going to put the gold in. They're going to stop the dollar. The dollar will collapse because there's other players on the other teams that want it to collapse and want the gold. And and they will fight to keep the dollar working because they have a lot of dollars. So if Bush has $40 million, he doesn't want the dollar to go to zero, or Trump, or any of them. But China's saying, screw you, we've had enough of this, as is Russia, and they'll come out with this BRICS gold-backed currency in a week. And well, it's already out, but they'll do Basel III in a week, and in a month they'll do this whole thing with the Brazil with BRICS July 17th, and we'll see it. So not everybody wants to play the game, or their guys are had enough of it. Russia's got their own bushes, and so does China. And they don't want us to be ahead. They want to be ahead. They want to sell arms to both sides. So this is what you have. So I found this morning. I'm not going to go through. Well, there's only 1 minute left. So let's look at the last
Began
minute.
in union banking corporations, seized accounts, had funded a political dynasty that reached the absolute pinnacle of American power. Today, even after Jeb Bush's failed 2016 presidential campaign, the family's influence continues through corporate boards, think tanks, and the next generation positioning for power. The Bush dynasty proved that in America, with enough money, connections, and strategic amnesia, even the darkest origins can be laundered into the highest respectability. And now, we'd like to see you in the comments. Were you family with this aspect of the Bush family's history?
I was watching this one yesterday, Goldman Sachs. I'm not going to get into it now, but basically, there's nobody named Goldman or Sachs in the company. And then they're talking about investment banking, and it's really just a facade, like BlackRock and Vanguard. They don't own anything. They just take your money and invest your money. So they might control $5-10 trillion. They don't own it. It's mine and yours money. Well, I don't have any in it, but then these pension funds and whatever else is they give it, and then they buy these stocks and mutual funds, whatever, but they don't own it. They just control it. So if you give me $1,000 and I, pick football games for you, it's not my money, it's your money. I'm just doing the picking. That's what they're doing with stocks. So they get the money and they're just buying the stocks or mutual funds for you. They don't have the money. It's not their money. I was watching that yesterday. Interesting stuff, some of it. I'll try to keep it as economics. All the foreign airlines are leaving the U.S., as I showed you. Trump's demand BRICS cancels dealing with Iran oil, and she says, no way, I'm buying it. I'm buying it from them. We showed you the Hitler with Switzerland. Keep in mind, China is broke. Even though they're doing all these trades, they are broke. Their money's worthless, as is Japan, as is Germany, and as is all these countries. So keep that in mind. That's what you have. So even though China's broke, their money will come out. Does anybody know how to do this border? I had it right, and then I switched pictures because on my phone I got a lot of pictures, so I keep showing them, and I can't get it. This is okay, and then I change I'll change this on my thumbnail, and those are fine. That's what I want on my I want on my banner, but I don't know how to do it. So if anybody knows that, let me know. Anyway, there's no gold to look at. It starts at 6:30. Let's see what's going on in baseball. We started off with the Yankees under 10, and it's 2-1 after 5. Looks pretty good. Detroit Tampa is 1-1, bottom of the 4th. We got Tampa, and that's it. Texas starts at 135. The rest of them. So the White Sox under 8.5, Cincy, the Cubs under 11.5, California over 9, San Diego under 8.5, and the Dodgers over 9.5 tonight are the other bets. So we'll see what's going on there. But see, that's why in the New York-Baltimore game, we don't trust New York to win, but we know they're not hitting. And I think they had a pretty good pitchers going today, so that's why I took the under. The New York pitcher is good to keep Baltimore from hitting, and the Yankees aren't hitting, unfortunately. So we'll see about Tampa if they can sweep Detroit. That's about it. So we did the Big 18, the Big 10 today. Basically, I'll sum it up. Basically, team, coach, quarterback, as I do. Right now, we're just getting our first look. I don't really like Lindy's that much, and I really don't. A lot of his stuff as well. They, with this schedule, they should do that. Well, I don't want that. I want to know what's going on with them. The new lineman, the new quarterback. Very weak on the quarterback and who's what and everything. So we'll see about that. I might exchange it for another one. Like I said, they had the add-ons, which I like better. So I might switch it. But this was a couple dollars cheaper. And I said, well, the information's there. But they do such a bad job with the information. And he puts in his opinion, which I don't want. And then Phil Steele's the worst. I will not buy that. You could give it to me. I wouldn't buy it. It's really stupid. That's about it. Chinese yesterday. Daria's daughter is still in the hospital. I can't tell you all the details of it until I know all the details that I have, but I hope she gets better and gets home. Otherwise, that's about it. Off to the pool here. Here it's like 95 degrees. So we do have a pool at the apartment, but I prefer the one at the club because I can hot tub also. And I can get my own lane and run in my lane and then run in the hot tub. Chinese yesterday. I'll have that for lunch now. And I think that's about it. So got all my car vacuumed and cleaned yesterday. Felt good. Now I drive it. The only thing I really need to do is the windows. I need to go back and clean the windows out. But it's good. This one car wash allows you to go in there and use the vacuum and use that for free. The intent is you'll actually get your car washed, which it was raining, so I didn't need the car wash yesterday, but maybe next week or something. Not much. We're getting July 4th coming up. I'm glad I got the football. I'll start studying that. That's about it. So a lot of the money is very, very corrupt. All the politicians are very, very corrupt. Understand that. Don't be your head in the sand and go, oh, I'm shocked that, this is that. It looks like Bush was behind Kennedy's assassination. I don't know where I was that day. I was 4 years old, and I remember, I don't know if I was in my living room or what, but I think I was in the car. I knew something had happened and Kennedy had gotten shot. And I remember where I was at 4 years old. Everybody remembers where they were. And then Bush doesn't know where he was. Oh, okay, sure. These guys are liars and it's all fixed. And it's really a shame because that's what destroys the country. And it really goes against what we're trying to do. And, you wonder why there's no gold standard, because they can't be crooks. They can't, if it's backed by gold, they can't print it. That's why it's not backed by gold. That's why we don't have a gold standard, because they can print and print and print. And that's the object, not to have gold control how much they can print. So it's an uphill battle to get gold standard in it. From what we can see, all these people control, and all the Wall Street bankers and oil people and other countries control our country. But at the end of the day, it's over, because you can't just keep printing the dollar. And now here comes BRICS saying we don't want to use the dollar anymore. And if there's no demand, it's worthless, as I talked to you about it. So that's where it's at. There's no demand for it. It's gone. It's already gone. It's just, you'll see the foreigners crash the market and crash the banks. And just like I was watching 2008, where they were talking about the whole Lehman Brothers and the whole margin call and everything, where they basically were bundling up mortgages. The problem is, and it's hard to believe that these are bankers, that they're this stupid, didn't realize that the credit limits were unchecked, and that people could get loans. They had to give them the loans. How could these people be this stupid? I knew about it in 1997 when Clinton did it. I said, there's going to be big trouble, but I didn't know you could bet against it. But I had a chance to buy a real estate trust, and I didn't buy it. Only the Attack on Wall Street guy did. But then they dumped it to get out of it. That's what happened with Die Hard 3 guy. And it's hard to believe the bankers are this stupid that they don't realize what they're getting into. Well, it's mortgages. Yeah, but these aren't the same mortgages, because these people could get the mortgage without a credit rating, without a job. You don't want to be in those. Those are high risk. So but what's happening now is very different. It's inflation, that they don't understand what inflation is. And it's 37 trillion in debt, and it's BRICS saying we want gold and not dollars. And because their dollars aren't worth anything. China's broke, Russia's broke. So everybody's broke. So they realize the only way is gold. And you got all these crooks running the US government who have no idea. They just keep printing it, don't realize that nobody wants it because it's worthless. And that's what we're struggling with. We know it's worthless. We're telling you to buy gold and silver. Me, not we. Well, when I talk to myself. And that's it. So anyway, questions or comments? Anybody? Real D, have a nice day. So I went through baseball. Big Ten, I'll do the SEC. I might do one for each one. I got to read it, and then I put it in my spreadsheet, the new coach, the quarterback, and then we talk about it, and then I say, okay. But again, we've got to – it's really all about the defense, and is the defense true? Penn State's defense gave up 45 to Oregon, is not a 16 defense. And same with Ohio State when they played good teams. That goes back to the schedule and things like that. Anyway, we got Ohio State, Texas week 1. We got Michigan, Oklahoma week 2. So it should be some interesting football anyway. Tennessee should be very good with Joey Aguilar. And UCLA might not win a game with Nico. I'm a soccer player, or I'm a volleyball player playing quarterback. Anyway, we will see what happens as we get data in. We pull back the curtain a little bit more and understand. We're always looking for the real strong defensive team, and the good quarterback, and the good offense is second. The defense is first. And that's about it. So again, have a nice day. And www.teaserking.com, and good luck if you're betting the baseball, basketball. I like Indy getting 7.5 tonight. Could they win? Absolutely. I'm not sure Oklahoma City has the balls to win it. The best player in the league would be like the 30th best player in the 80s. Magic, Bird, Isaiah, Kareem, Dr. J. This guy, there's David Robinson, there's Yeah, there's Elijah Drexler, Karl Malone, yeah, Jordan, Pippen. And Pippen wasn't that good. Jordan, yeah, okay. Now here's this guy who's the MVP this year. He's probably like 25th in the 1980s. So I'm not counting on him to win. And I don't think he's that good. He's good now because the league sucks, but not that good. Anyway, I think that's about it. So go have a good day. Enjoy. It's 1:18, so I'll leave about 2:45 to go swim. It's open to 4:30, and that's it. So I don't know if there's sports on or not right now. Otherwise, I'll be watching the 1978 NFL season. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. Enjoy.